The red sun of Kepler 442b was setting behind the mountains when the ships appeared in the sky. They came without warning, without any message. Just dark shapes cutting through the orange clouds like blades. Elena Reeves saw them first from her communications tower, and her blood turned cold. "Marcus, we have incoming," she said into her headset, her voice steady despite the fear climbing up her throat. "Unknown vessels. At least 5 of them." Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Dalton was cleaning his rifle in the security office when the call came through. He stopped, looked out the window, and saw the ships descending toward the mining settlement of New Anchorage. They were not human ships. The design was all wrong, organic, and curved where human vessels were angular and practical. "Get everyone to the landing pad," Marcus said, already moving. He grabbed his gear with practice speed. Rifle, ammunition, spotting scope, ghillie suit, emergency kit. Everything a SEAL sniper needed. "I'm calling for evacuation." The colony alarm started blaring across New Anchorage. 234 people lived in this settlement, miners and their families mostly, people who came here to dig rare metals from the ground and send them back to Earth. They were not soldiers. They were not prepared for this. Marcus reached the command center where Elena was already coordinating the evacuation. She was young, maybe 26, with dark hair pulled back in a tight ponytail and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a Navy communications specialist before coming to this quiet colony. Marcus had been glad to have someone with actual training here, even if the posting was supposed to be peaceful. "The transport ship can be here in 40 minutes, Elena said, her fingers flying over the controls. "But those ships will land in 15. Then we buy them 25 minutes, Marcus said. He was already thinking, calculating, planning. The mining tower had good sight lines over the entire settlement. The geothermal plant could be rigged if needed. The warehouse district offered cover and concealment. The alien ships landed in the open ground north of the settlement. Their landing legs extended like insect limbs, and ramps lowered with a hiss of hydraulics. Marcus watched through his scope from the security office window. What came out made his jaw tighten. They walked on 4 legs, but stood upright on 2 when they stopped moving. Their bodies were covered in gray-green armor that looked grown rather than manufactured. They carried weapons that glowed with blue energy. Their heads were triangular with multiple eyes arranged in a cluster. Marcus counted them as they emerged. 12, 20, 50. The numbers kept climbing. "What are they?" Elena whispered beside him. "Trouble," Marcus said. He keyed his radio to the colony-wide channel. "This is Dalton. All civilians proceed to the landing pad immediately. Do not stop for anything. Do not engage the visitors. Just run." The colonists ran. Marcus could see them streaming from their homes and workshops, carrying children and emergency bags, heading for the southern edge of the settlement where the landing pad waited. The transport ship was still 30 minutes out. The aliens moved into the settlement in organized groups. They did not shoot, not yet, but they spread out with clear purpose. They were occupying the colony, setting up positions, securing buildings. Marcus recognized military tactics when he saw them. These were not explorers. They were soldiers. "Elena, you need to go," Marcus said. "I need to guide the transport in," she replied. "The automated systems are not good enough. If they come in wrong, they could crash. Then do it from the bunker under the command center. It has everything you need." Elena looked at him, and understanding passed between them. "You are staying. Someone has to slow them down." "Marcus, there are hundreds of them. Then I better get started." He gave her a tight smile. "Go. I will buy you the time you need." Elena grabbed her portable communications rig and ran for the bunker access. Marcus watched her go, then turned back to his scope. The aliens were moving in groups of 12, spreading through the settlement in a search pattern. They were looking for colonists, for people to capture or kill. Marcus left the security office and moved through the settlement using the back routes he had memorized during his 6 months here. He was 43 years old, a veteran of 3 wars, a man who had spent 25 years learning how to kill efficiently and quietly. He had come to this colony to escape that life, to find some peace on a quiet world, far from Earth's conflicts. Peace never lasted. He reached the mining tower and climbed to the observation platform 300 feet up. From here, he could see the entire settlement spread below him like a map. The aliens were still moving through the streets. The colonists were almost to the landing pad. The transport ship was 20 minutes out. Marcus set up his rifle, a modified M110 that fired subsonic rounds through a suppressor. He ranged the distances to key points in the settlement. The main square was 1,200 meters. The warehouse district was 900. The residential area was 1,050. The aliens moved into the main square, just as the last colonists disappeared toward the landing pad. 12 of them in a tight formation, their weapons ready, their clustered eyes scanning in all directions. They were communicating with each other. Marcus could see their heads moving, but he heard nothing. Maybe they used radio frequencies. Maybe something else thought he picked the leader. The one in front, slightly larger than the others, moving with more authority. Marcus controlled his breathing, felt his heartbeat slow, let the world narrow down to the crosshairs and the target. Wind was light, left to right at maybe 3 miles per hour. Distance was 1,200 meters. He adjusted his aim 2 clicks right, 1 click up. He squeezed the trigger. The rifle coughed quietly, a sound that would not carry far. 1,200 meters away, the alien leader's head snapped back and it collapsed. The others froze, their weapons coming up, but pointing at nothing. They had not heard the shot. They did not know where it came from. Marcus worked the bolt smoothly, acquired the second target, fired. Another alien dropped. Then a third. The remaining 9 scattered, running for cover. Their movements panicked and uncoordinated. Through his scope, Marcus saw them gather behind a building. Their bodies pressed together, their heads moving rapidly. They were afraid. They were confused. One of them was making gestures with its upper limbs, pointing in random directions. Marcus smiled without humor. They had no idea what had just happened. They did not understand that a human was hunting them from 1,200 meters away. That death could reach out and touch them. From distances they could not even see. He shifted his aim to the power station where another group of 12 aliens was setting up some kind of equipment. Time to teach them another lesson. The transport ship landed 22 minutes later and lifted off with all 234 colonists safely aboard. Elena's voice came through Marcus's earpiece from her bunker. They are away. You can go now. Negative, Marcus said, watching through his scope as more alien ships landed, disgorging more soldiers. They will just chase the transport and shoot it down. I need to keep them busy here. Marcus, there are too many. Elena, I need you to do something for me. Monitor their communications. Any frequency you can find. I need to know what they are saying, how they think, what they are planning. There was a pause. Then Elena's voice came back, quieter. Okay, I'm on it. Night was falling over New Anchorage. The aliens were bringing in lights, setting up a perimeter, organizing their forces. They had found their dead now, 47 bodies scattered across the settlement, and they were searching for whoever killed them. Marcus checked his ammunition. He had 300 rounds for the rifle, 200 for his sidearm. He had 4 days of food and water. He had training, experience, and high ground. The aliens had numbers, technology, and ships. Marcus settled into his position and waited for darkness. In the square below, a cluster of aliens were moving carefully, their weapons sweeping back and forth. Their heads turned constantly, eyes scanning. One of them stopped and made a gesture. Marcus could not hear them, but he can imagine the question. Who's after us? They had no idea. The lone SEAL sniper controlled the night, and the night had just begun. The aliens called themselves the Voth. Elena discovered this 3 hours into the night when she finally cracked their communication frequencies. She listened to their voices. Strange clicking and whistling sounds that her computer translated into words on her screen. The Voth evolved on a world without predators, she told Marcus through the secure channel. Their home planet had them at the top of the food chain since the beginning. They do not understand being hunted. Marcus was moving through the settlement under cover of darkness. He'd left the mining tower an hour ago, relocating to avoid being pinned down. Now he was in the warehouse district, watching a Voth patrol through his night vision scope. That explains a lot, he whispered back. The Voth were bunched together, all 12 of them walking in a tight group with their weapons pointing outward. It was terrible tactics for dealing with a sniper, but it made sense if you had never faced a hidden enemy before. He picked his shot and fired. The lead Voth dropped. The others froze, and Marcus fired again. 2 down. They started running, but they ran together, still in a group, and Marcus dropped a third before they reached cover. They are terrified, Elena said, and Marcus could hear the wonder in her voice. Listen to this. She played the translated communication over his earpiece. Where's the attack coming from? I see nothing. Thermal scans show no targets. How are they hiding? We must stay together. Safety in numbers. But they are picking us off. We need to spread out. No. We cannot face the invisible ones alone. Marcus smiled in the darkness. The ghillie suit he wore broke up his thermal signature. The subsonic rounds made almost no sound and no muzzle flash. To the Voth, he was invisible, a ghost that killed from nowhere. He moved again, using the skills he had learned over 25 years. Low crawl through the shadows, staying below sight lines, moving when their attention was elsewhere. The Voth had set up lights throughout the settlement, but lights created shadows, and shadows were a sniper's best friend. He thought back to his training as he moved. The endless days at sniper school, learning to become invisible, to read the wind, to control his breathing and heartbeat. The instructors who pushed him beyond what he thought possible. The mantra they drilled into every student. Patience, precision, violence of action. Marcus had been 19 when he joined the Navy. Young and angry. Looking for purpose. Looking for a way to prove himself. He found it in the SEALs, in the brotherhood of warriors who operated in the dark places of the world. He had fought in jungles and deserts, in cities and mountains, against enemies who wanted to kill him and everyone he protected. He had been good at it. Too good. After 20 years, he looked in the mirror and saw someone he did not recognize. A man made of scars and hard edges. A man who only knew how to fight. So he took this posting on a colony world, hoping the peace would help him remember who he had been before the wars. Now the war had followed him here. And he discovered that the man he had tried to leave behind was still there, waiting. A Voth patrol entered the warehouse where Marcus was hiding. 6 of them, moving with their weapons raised, their clustered eyes scanning. They were learning, he noted. 6 instead of 12, moving more carefully. But not carefully enough. Marcus was above them, hidden in the rafters of the warehouse. He waited until they were all inside, until they had committed to searching the building. Then he dropped a wrench he had picked up earlier. It clattered loudly on the concrete floor. The Voth spun toward the sound, and Marcus fired from behind them. 1 down. 2. 3. The survivors panicked and ran straight for the exit, and Marcus dropped another before they escaped. The night continued like this. The Voth patrolling, Marcus hunting. He hit them from different angles, different positions, never staying in one place long enough for them to pin him down. He used every trick he knew. False thermal signatures created by heating vents. Sounds made by timers he set up. Shadows and angles that confused their scanners. Elena fed him their communications, and Marcus listened to their growing panic. "Command, we have lost 73 soldiers. We cannot locate the enemy. There must be multiple attackers. One human could not do this. Our thermal scans show nothing. How are they hiding from our technology? They are Death Weavers. They kill from shadows." Dawn came slowly to Kepler 442b, the red sun climbing over the mountains to paint the settlement in orange light. Marcus was back in the mining tower, watching the Voth gather in the main square. They had pulled back during the night, grouping together for safety. He counted their numbers. 753. He had killed 47 of them. He was exhausted. His body ached from hours of moving, shooting, relocating. His hands were steady only through discipline and training. He had eaten energy bars and drank water from his pack, but he needed real rest soon. "Elena, status?" he asked. "Still here," she replied from her bunker. She sounded tired too. "Marcus, they're calling for reinforcements." "How many?" 300 more soldiers and 2 atmospheric gunships. "They will be here by tonight." Marcus calculated quickly. 1,050 Voth total, plus air support. Against one man with a rifle and limited ammunition. The math was not good. "There is something else," Elena said. "They are bringing a Mindling commander. The computer is still translating what that means, but from what I can gather, it is an individual who can coordinate all Voth forces as a single unit. They share sensory data, tactics, everything." Marcus thought about this. A hive mind commander. That changed things. The Voth had been easy to confuse because they operated in small groups without central coordination. A Mindling commander would eliminate that advantage. "I need to prepare," Marcus said. "Keep monitoring their communications. I want to know everything they are planning." He spent the day setting up defenses and traps. The geothermal plant could be overloaded to create a massive explosion. He rigged it with his remaining explosives, setting up a remote detonator. The warehouse district had natural choke points that he marked for later use. The communications bunker where Elena was hiding had multiple escape routes that he made sure were clear. He also set up false positions. Mannequins dressed in spare clothes with heating elements to create thermal signatures. Remote-controlled noisemakers. Anything to confuse the enemy and make them think there were more defenders than just one man. The Voth stayed in the main square all day, waiting for their reinforcements. They had learned that spreading out got them killed. Marcus could have taken more shots, but he needed to conserve ammunition now. The long game had begun. Elena worked on hacking into the Voth network. She was good with computers, better than Marcus, and she managed to find a backdoor in their communication system. Not full access, but enough to feed them false sensor data when needed. "Marcus, I can make their scanners show targets that do not exist," she said with excitement in her voice. "I can create ghost images." "Save that for when we really need it," Marcus replied. "Once they know we can hack them, they will shut that door." Afternoon turned to evening. The red sun descended toward the horizon again. Marcus was positioned on a rooftop overlooking the landing zone where the Voth reinforcements would arrive. He had 3 full magazines ready, his rifle cleaned and checked. The ships came in as the last light faded from the sky. 2 large transports and 2 smaller gunships. The transports landed and deployed their soldiers, 300 fresh Voth troops organized and ready. The gunships stayed airborne, circling the settlement with their weapon systems active. The last ship was different. Smaller, faster, more elegant in its design. It landed near the command area the Voth had set up, and a single figure emerged. Kroth 7 was larger than the normal Voth, with darker armor and more pronounced features. Marcus watched through his scope as the other Voth gathered around this commander, their bodies languid, showing deference and respect. Then something happened that made Marcus's blood run cold. All the Voth stopped moving at once. They stood perfectly still for 3 seconds, and when they moved again, it was with a coordination they had not shown before. They moved as one, like a flock of birds turning in flight, like a school of fish changing direction. The Minlink had connected. "Elena," Marcus said quietly, "I think we just got a real problem." Croth 7's voice came over the communication channels, and Elena translated it for Marcus. "To the human who has killed my soldiers, I know you are one individual now. I know you are hidden somewhere in this settlement. I know you think you can continue to fight us." The Minlink commander paused, and when it continued, there was something in the translated words that sounded almost like respect. "You have done well. You have fought with honor and skill. But now I have arrived, and I will find you. You cannot hide from the Minlink. We are many. We are one. We will hunt you as you have hunted us." Marcus checked his rifle and settled into position. The easy part was over. Now the real fight began. "Come on then," he whispered to the night. "Let's see what you have got." Croth 7 was different from anything Marcus had faced before. The Minling commander moved with purpose through the settlement, and wherever it looked, the Voth soldiers moved in perfect coordination. They no longer bunched together in fearful groups. Instead, they spread out in overlapping patterns, covering each other's blind spots. Moving with military precision, Marcus watched from a new position in the communications relay building. He had abandoned the mining tower before dawn, knowing the Minlink would identify his previous locations and target them. Now he observed the Voth moving through the settlement in search patterns that were actually intelligent. "They are learning fast," Elena said through his earpiece. She was still in her bunker, monitoring everything. "Croth 7 is analyzing the previous attacks, identifying your tactics. Can you hear what it is thinking?" Marcus asked. "Some of it? The Minlink uses a different frequency for internal communication, but I am picking up pieces." She paused, and Marcus heard her typing. "It thinks you are fascinating." "Fascinating?" The Voth have been a dominant species for thousands of years. They conquered 12 other species without any real challenge. This is the first time they have encountered someone who fights back effectively. Croth 7 sees you as a puzzle to solve. Marcus considered this. A puzzle could be solved. A puzzle had patterns. He needed to be unpredictable, to break any patterns the Minlink might identify. The first test came an hour after sunrise. A Voth patrol of 6 soldiers moved into the warehouse district, the same area where Marcus had killed many of them during the first night. But this time, they moved differently. Too high, too low, too watching the rear. They communicated constantly with the Minlink, sharing what they saw. Marcus let them pass. No shot, no engagement. Let them wonder. 3 more patrols entered different areas, all moving with coordination, all linked to Croth 7's mind. Marcus stayed hidden and still. Patience was a sniper's greatest weapon. Then he saw his opportunity. One of the atmospheric gunships was making a patrol loop around the settlement, flying the same route it had flown 3 times already. A pattern. A mistake. Marcus had prepared for this. He moved to the geothermal plant where he had set up a special surprise. The plant used underground heat to generate power, and it had large steam vents that release pressure. Marcus had rigged one of the vents with explosive charges set on a timer. He watched the gunship through his scope, timing its approach. The aircraft was maybe 100 feet up, moving at 60 miles per hour. It would pass over the geothermal plant in 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10. Marcus triggered the detonator. The explosive charges shattered the pressure valve on the steam vent, and a massive column of superheated steam blasted upward, just as the gunship passed overhead. The steam was over 400 degrees and moving fast. It engulfed the gunship's engines and sensors. The aircraft shuddered, its systems failing, and it dropped from the sky like a stone. It crashed into the northern edge of the settlement with a sound like thunder, flames erupting from its wreckage. Marcus was already moving, relocating before the Voth could respond. He heard their communications through Elena's feed, the clicking and whistling that translated to confusion and anger. The human destroyed our gunship. How? There was no weapon signature. Croft 7, what do we do? The Minling commander's response was calm and analytical. The human uses the environment as a weapon. Note this. Avoid patterns. Vary all patrol routes and timing. Ground the remaining gunship until we understand the threat. Marcus smiled as he moved through the shadows. Croft 7 was smart, but intelligence could be a weakness. Smart enemies tried to predict, to plan, to control. All Marcus had to do was be the chaos they could not predict. Over the next 6 hours, Marcus engaged in a deadly game of chess with the Minling commander. He would appear in one location, take a shot, and disappear. Then, he would show up somewhere completely different, use a different tactic, and vanish again. He rigged traps. He created diversions. He used every trick from 25 years of warfare. Voth began to call him the Shadow Walker in their communications. They feared him, but Croft 7 remained analytical, studying each attack, learning from each encounter. It is adapting faster than I expected, Marcus admitted to Elena during a brief rest period. He was in a maintenance tunnel under the settlement, drinking water and checking his ammunition. He was down to 140 rounds for the rifle. Not enough. There is something else, Elena said. I hacked deeper into their network. Croft 7 is not just here to capture the settlement. It is here specifically for you. What do you mean? The Voth have been expanding their territory for centuries without any real resistance. They encounter a species. They overwhelm them with numbers. They assimilate or destroy them. But you have done something they have never experienced. You have made them afraid. You have shown them they can be hunted. Elena's voice was intense. Croft 7 wants to understand you, to study you, to figure out what makes humans dangerous so they can prepare for when they meet more of us. Marcus understood immediately. He was not just fighting for the settlement anymore. He was fighting to keep humanity's tactical capabilities secret. If the Voth learned too much from studying his methods, they would be prepared when they encountered Earth's real military forces. Then I need to make sure they learn the wrong lessons, Marcus said. The second gunship launched that afternoon. It had been modified with additional armor and flew at unpredictable altitudes and speeds. Croft 7 was taking no chances. The gunship made its first attack run on Marcus's last known position, the communications relay building. Its weapons tore through the structure, collapsing walls and igniting fires. Marcus watched from a safe distance. He had evacuated that position an hour ago, but now the gunship was a problem. With air support, the Voth could search faster, see more, pin him down. He needed to take it out, but his steam vent trick would not work twice. Marcus studied the gunship's behavior. It was being cautious, never flying the same route twice, never getting too close to buildings or structures. Smart, but it had to refuel eventually. Marcus positioned himself with a view of the Voth landing area where their ships were parked. He waited for 3 hours, barely moving, controlling his breathing, staying invisible. His body ached. The wound in his side from the previous gunship's attack throbbed despite the pain medication. He was running on combat stimulants and determination. The gunship landed to refuel. It was on the ground for maybe 10 minutes while Voth technicians attached fuel lines. Marcus waited until they were halfway through the refueling process. Then he aimed not at the gunship, but at the fuel truck next to it. The rifle shot was perfect. The bullet punched through the fuel truck's tank, and volatile alien fuel began pouring out. Marcus fired again, this time aiming at the puddle of fuel spreading across the landing pad. The spark from the bullet hitting concrete was enough. The fuel ignited with a blue-white flash, and suddenly the entire landing area was on fire. The gunship tried to take off, but its fuel lines were still attached. They ripped free, spraying more fuel, creating more fire. The gunship exploded. Marcus was moving before the debris stopped falling. The Voth would be searching for his firing position, and he needed to be somewhere else, but he was too slow. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the wound in his side. Maybe Croft 7 had predicted his escape route. Whatever the reason, Marcus was only halfway to his next position when the Voth patrol found him. 6 of them, appearing from multiple directions, moving with the perfect coordination of the Mindlink. Their weapons came up. Blue energy crackling. Marcus dove behind a concrete barrier as energy bolts shattered the ground where he had been standing. He returned fire, his rifle barking twice, dropping one Voth, but the others were already repositioning, using cover, flanking him. He was pinned down. More Voth were coming. He could hear their four-legged running, the clicking of their communication. Dozens of them, drawn by the Mindlink, converging on his position. Marcus threw a smoke grenade, the only one he had left. Gray smoke billowed out, obscuring the area. He ran through it, firing blindly behind him, trying to break contact. Something hit him hard in the left shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. A Voth energy bolt had grazed him, burning through his uniform and scorching his skin. He stumbled but kept moving, kept running. He made it to the maintenance tunnels, the same tunnels Elena had used to escape her bunker. He crawled inside and pulled the access hatch closed behind him, sealing it with the emergency lock. In the darkness of the tunnel, Marcus checked his wounds. The shoulder was burned, but not serious. The older wound in his side had reopened from the running and was bleeding again. He had maybe 20 rounds left for his rifle. "Elena," he said into his headset, "I am hurt. Need to lay low for a while." Her response was immediate. "Where are you?" "Maintenance Tunnel 7. Near the eastern residential section." "Stay there. I am coming to you." "Negative. Too dangerous." "Marcus, you need medical attention. I was a Navy corpsman before I was a communications specialist. I can help." He wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. He was losing blood and needed treatment. "Okay, but be careful." While he waited, Marcus listened to the Voth. Communications through Elena's feed. They were searching for him. The Mindla Marcus moved through the maintenance tunnels as fast as his wounded body would allow. The tunnels ran under the entire settlement, a network of passages used for repairs and maintenance. He had memorized their layout during his first weeks on New Anchorage, never imagining he would need them for combat. His shoulder throbbed where the energy bolt had burned him. His side was wet with blood from the reopened wound. But pain was just information. His instructors had taught him. Acknowledge it and keep moving. He reached the junction where the tunnels connected to Elena's bunker. He could hear sounds above him, the heavy footsteps of Voth soldiers, the clicking of their communication. They were inside the command center, searching for the bunker entrance. Marcus climbed the access ladder carefully and listened at the sealed hatch. Multiple Voth, maybe a dozen. Too many to fight directly with his remaining ammunition. He needed a different approach. He keyed his radio. "Elena, do not come back to the bunker. They are waiting for you." Static. Then her voice, breathless from running. "I am already in the tunnels. Maybe 5 minutes from your position. Change of plans. Meet me at Junction 7. We are leaving the tunnels. Where are we going?" Marcus looked at the map he had memorized. There was only one place left with enough resources for a last stand. Only one place where he could leverage the environment against superior numbers. The geothermal plant, he said. I am going to end this. They met at Junction 7. Elena had a medical kit and her portable communications rig. She looked exhausted, her face pale and drawn, but her eyes were sharp and focused. Let me see your wounds, she said, already opening the kit. Marcus let her work while he kept watch on the tunnel. She cleaned the burns on his shoulder and applied a synthetic skin patch. The wound in his side required actual stitches, which she did quickly and efficiently. You were a corpsman? Marcus asked, trying not to flinch as the needle went through his skin. 2 years before I transferred to communications, Elena replied. Decided I preferred computers to blood. She tied off the last stitch. That will hold, but you need real medical care soon. Add it to the list, Marcus said. He checked his rifle. 19 rounds left. His pistol had maybe 40. Not enough for a prolonged firefight. How much did you download from their network? Everything I could get. Tactical protocols, ship specifications, language files, cultural information. It is all on this hard drive. She patted her communications rig. If we can get this to the human military, it will save thousands of lives. When we get it to them, Marcus corrected. Not if, when. They moved through the tunnels toward the geothermal plant. Behind them, Marcus could hear the Voth entering the tunnel system, searching for them. The Minlink made them efficient, coordinating their search patterns to cover every passage. They are going to find us, Elena said. I know. That is part of the plan. We have a plan? Marcus smiled grimly. I have been preparing for this since yesterday. The geothermal plant has everything we need. Defensive positions, multiple exit routes, and enough explosive potential to take out half the settlement. They reached the plant and climbed out of the tunnels into the main facility. The building was massive, filled with pipes and turbines and generators that converted underground heat into electricity. Marcus had spent hours here the previous day, setting up his final contingency. He showed Elena the work he had done. Explosive charges placed at critical points throughout the facility. Remote detonators linked to a single trigger. Escape routes marked and cleared. Defensive positions fortified with metal plates and sandbags he had scrounged from the mining operations. This is insane, Elena said, looking at the charges. If these go off with us inside, we will not be inside. We will be in the emergency bunker. Marcus pointed to a reinforced room designed to protect workers during equipment failures. It is rated for extreme temperatures and pressure. We should survive. Should? Better than our chances out there. Elena looked at him for a long moment. You planned this from the beginning. You were always going to make a last stand here. I planned for every contingency. This is just the worst-case scenario. She laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. Worst case, right? What is the best case? The cavalry arrives before I have to blow everything up. And you called for cavalry? Marcus shook his head. No time. But the transport that evacuated the colonists will have reported the attack by now. Earth will send ships eventually. We just need to survive until they get here. The Voth found them 30 minutes later. Marcus was not surprised. The Minlink had coordinated their search efficiently, and there were only so many places to hide in the settlement. Cross-7's voice echoed through the plant. On external speakers the Voth had set up. Elena translated as the Minlink commander spoke. Human warrior, I know you are inside the geothermal facility. I know you are wounded. I know you have very little ammunition remaining. Your situation is hopeless. Marcus said nothing, just waited. I offer you terms, Cross-7 continued. Surrender now. Give us the data your companion has stolen from our network. In return, I will ensure you both survive. You will be studied, but you will live. Marcus checked his rifle, his face expressionless. "I am curious about you," the Mindlink commander said. "You have fought well, better than any enemy we have encountered in 1,000 years. Your tactics are sophisticated. Your will is unbreakable. You fight alone when surrender would save your life. Why?" Elena looked at Marcus. "Are you going to answer?" "Why not?" Marcus said. He keyed the plant's public address system. "You want to know why I fight? I will tell you. Your species evolved without predators. You have never known what it means to be hunted. You have never had to struggle for survival against something stronger and faster than you." He paused, thinking about Earth, about humanity's long climb from prey to predator, about the endless wars and struggles that had shaped his species into survivors. "Humans evolved on a death world," Marcus continued. "Everything on Earth wanted to kill us. Predators, diseases, other humans. We learned to fight or we died. We learned to plan, to think, to never give up. You ask why I fight alone? Because that is what humans do. We choose to stand, even alone, even when the odds are impossible. Because if we do not stand, we do not deserve to survive." Silence. Then Croth 7 spoke again. "Fascinating. Your species values individual choice over collective survival. This explains much, but it also makes you dangerous. Too dangerous." The Voth attacked. They came from multiple entrances simultaneously, perfectly coordinated by the Mindlink. Marcus opened fire from his fortified position, dropping 3 Voth before they reached cover. Elena worked her communications equipment, using the backdoor she had created in their network to feed them false sensor data. "They think there are 5 of you in here," she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "I am making ghost signatures all over the plant." The Voth advanced cautiously, unable to trust their sensors. Marcus relocated between positions, using the plant's layout to his advantage. The pipes and machinery created a maze of metal that broke up sight lines and provided cover. He was down to 10 rounds. 5 rounds. 2. His rifle clicked empty. Marcus dropped it and drew his pistol. The Voth were closing in, moving through the plant in coordinated groups. Elena had stopped hacking and was now just monitoring their positions, calling out warnings. 12 of them coming from the east entrance, 8 from the north. "Marcus, Croth 7 just entered the building. It is coming toward your position." Marcus moved to the central control room, where he could see the main floor of the plant. Croth 7 walked calmly through the machinery, its body language confident. Behind it, dozens of Voth soldiers moved in protective formation. The Mindlink commander looked up, and somehow, despite the distance and the cluster of alien eyes, Marcus felt like they made eye contact. "You have fought well, human," Croth 7 said, "but the fight is over. You have no ammunition, no escape, no hope. Surrender, and I will make your death quick and painless." Marcus thought about the detonator in his pocket. One button press would trigger all the explosives, destroying the geothermal plant and creating a chain reaction that would level half the settlement. He would die, Elena would die, but so would Croth 7 and every Voth in the building. It would be a good death. A warrior's death. But maybe there was another way. "I have a better idea," Marcus said into the public address system. "How about we make a deal? You have nothing to bargain with. I have something you want. Knowledge. Understanding of human tactics and capabilities. That is why you came here, right? To study me? To learn how humans fight?" Croth 7 tilted its triangular head. "Continue. I will tell you everything. Our tactics, our training, our way of thinking. But in exchange, you let Elena go. You let her take the transport shuttle that is still parked at the southern landing pad. You let her leave this world and go home. And you? I stay. You can study me, dissect me, do whatever you want. But she goes free. Elena grabbed his arm. Marcus, no. I am not leaving you. He looked at her, and his eyes were gentle. You have to. That data you downloaded has to reach Earth. It is more important than either of us. We can fight our way out together. Elena, we both know that is not true. But one of us. The destroyer Tenacious entered orbit with its weapons hot and ready. It was a Vanguard-class warship, designed for rapid response and planetary assault. Behind it came 2 more ships, cruisers with full marine complements. They had made the journey in record time after receiving the distress call from the evacuated colonists. Marcus heard the announcement over the Voth communication channels as Elena translated from the bunker. The Voth fleet in orbit was retreating, pulling back from the overwhelming firepower of the human warships. On the ground, the Voth soldiers were receiving new orders. Cross 7 stood perfectly still, its clustered eyes looking upward as if it could see through the roof of the geothermal plant to the ships above. The Minling commander was calculating, weighing options, making decisions. You knew they were coming, Cross 7 said to Marcus. I hoped. There is a difference. But you gambled that they would arrive before I killed you. Best kind of gamble, Marcus replied, keeping his body relaxed despite every instinct screaming at him to fight or run. The kind where you win no matter what happens. Croth 7 tilted its head in that gesture that might have meant curiosity. Explain. If you killed me, you proved that individual humans can be defeated. But if I survived, I proved that individual humans can hold against impossible odds. Either way, you learned something about my species. And that lesson will spread through the Mindling to every Voth in the galaxy. The Mindling commander made a sound that the translator turned into something like a laugh. You are a strategist as well as a warrior. Impressive. Drop pods began hitting the ground outside. Marcus could hear them through the plant's walls, the distinctive thunder of orbital deployment. Each pod carried a full squad of colonial marines, and the Tenacious had launched at least 30 pods. That meant over 200 marines were landing around the settlement. The Voth soldiers in the plant received their orders. They began pulling back, moving toward their ships with military discipline. Croth 7 watched them go, then looked back at Marcus. I am ordering a full retreat, the Mindling commander said. My analysis shows that continuing this engagement would result in unacceptable casualties. We are not prepared to fight humans on equal terms. Smart choice. But understand this, human warrior. You have taught me much over these past 2 days. I will share this knowledge with the collective. Every Voth will know about you, about your tactics, about your refusal to surrender, about what makes humans dangerous. Croth 7 stepped closer, and Marcus tensed, ready to fight even without weapons. But the Mindling commander simply extended one of its upper limbs in what might have been a salute. You carry the night within you, Croth 7 said. Your species evolved in darkness and death, and you learned to master both. We Voth have never faced anything like you. I hope we never do again. Tell your people to stay away from human space, Marcus said. Tell them that every human world has warriors like me. Tell them that we protect what is ours, and we never stop fighting. I will tell them something else as well, Croth 7 said. I will tell them that humans are not to be underestimated, that your species deserves respect and caution, that perhaps the galaxy is large enough for both our peoples to exist without conflict. The Mindling commander turned and walked toward the exit, its soldiers forming up around it. At the door, it paused and looked back. One final question, Marcus Dalton. Was it worth it? 2 days of fighting. The wounds. The pain. All of it. Was it worth it to prove your point? Marcus thought about the colonists who had escaped. About Elena and her stolen data that would help protect other human worlds. About the lesson the Voth had learned about humanity's will to fight. Yes, he said simply. It was worth it. Croft 7 left, and moments later, Marcus heard the Voth ships launching. Through the plant's windows, he could see them ascending into the red sky, leaving new anchorage behind. Alana emerged from the emergency bunker and ran to Marcus, throwing her arms around him. He grunted in pain from his wounds, but hugged her back. "We did it," she said, half laughing, half crying. "We survived." "You did good," Marcus told her. "Could not have made it without your help." The Marines stormed into the plant moments later, weapons ready, only to find Marcus and Elena standing among the machinery. The squad leader, a tough-looking woman with sergeant stripes, lowered her rifle and stared. "Gunnery Sergeant Dalton?" She asked. "That is me." "Sir, we were expecting to find survivors hiding in bunkers, not standing around in the open." Marcus smiled tiredly. "The hostiles retreated when you arrived. Decided they did not want to fight the whole Marine Corps." The sergeant looked around at the evidence of battle. Scorch marks on the walls. Blood on the floor. Shell casings everywhere. "Sir, how many hostiles were there?" "Over 1,000 when they started. Maybe 700 when they left." The sergeant's eyes widened. "And how many defenders?" "2. Me and the communications specialist." Later, in the medical bay of the Tenacious, doctors worked on Marcus's wounds while Elena downloaded her stolen data to the ship's intelligence officers. Marcus learned that the battle for new anchorage had lasted exactly 47 hours from first contact to the Voth retreat. The ship's captain, a stern man named Okafor, came to visit Marcus in medical. "You held an entire colony against 1,000 hostiles for 2 days, Okafor said, shaking his head in disbelief. "Command is going to want a full debrief. This is going to change how we think about alien contact and defensive protocols." "It was not just about holding the colony," Marcus replied. "It was about sending a message." "What message?" "That humans are not easy prey. That we fight. That we never give up." Marcus looked out the viewport at the red world below. "That message is worth more than one colony." Okafor nodded slowly. "The Voth fleet withdrew from this entire sector after your engagement. Our intelligence thinks they are going to avoid human space for the foreseeable future. One man with a rifle accomplished what a whole fleet might not have." "One man and one very brave communications specialist," Marcus corrected. "Elena deserves recognition, too. She will get it." "You both will." Okafor hesitated. "Command is offering you a promotion. A position training other snipers in alien engagement tactics. You would be teaching the next generation how to fight like you did." Marcus thought about this. About going back to Earth. About classrooms and briefing rooms and endless meetings. About trying to teach what he had learned in 2 days of hell. "I appreciate the offer, sir," Marcus said, "but I think I will decline." "Oh? What do you want instead?" "I want to go back to New Anchorage when it is rebuilt. I want to finish my rotation as settlement security." Okafor frowned. "After everything that happened? You want to go back to a colony world?" "Someone has to protect these places," Marcus said. "Someone has to stand watch in case the Voth change their minds. Or some other hostile species shows up. These colonists need to know that someone has their back. Most soldiers would want to get as far from combat as possible after an engagement like this." Marcus smiled faintly. "I am not most soldiers, sir. I am a SEAL. This is what I do." 6 months later, New Anchorage was rebuilt. The mining operations resumed. Colonists returned, including some who had been on the evacuation transport. They came back because they knew that Marcus Dalton was there, standing watch. The settlement looked different now. The colonial government had installed better defenses. Early warning systems. Proper fortifications. But everyone knew that the real defense was the man in the security office, the one who had held the line when it mattered most. Elena stayed too. She set up a new communications center and trained colonists in basic military procedures. She and Marcus worked together to make New Anchorage into something more than just a mining settlement. It became a symbol, a place where humanity had drawn a line and refused to be pushed back. One evening, Marcus stood on the rebuilt mine tower, looking out over the settlement as the red sun set. Elena climbed up to join him. "You know, there are easier postings," she said. "Safer places you could be." "Probably," Marcus agreed. "So why stay here?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching the lights come on in the settlement below. Families having dinner, children playing in the streets, people living their lives without fear because they knew someone was watching over them. "Someone has to stand watch," he said finally. "Someone has to be ready for when the darkness comes. Might as well be someone who knows how." "The darkness," Elena repeated. "You mean more aliens?" "Maybe, maybe not. But there is always darkness out here on the frontier. Always threats we do not see coming. Always someone who needs protecting." He looked at her and smiled. "That is what we do, right? We protect people." Elena smiled back. "We? You stayed too? That makes you part of this now." "I suppose it does." She looked out at the settlement. "You think the Voth will come back?" Cross 7 was smart. It will remember what happened here. It will tell other Voth, and they will stay away. Marcus's smile faded. "But there are other species out there. Some of them might not be as smart as the Voth. Some might need to learn the same lesson. And you will teach them?" "If I have to." They stood together in comfortable silence as night fell over New Anchorage. The settlement lights glowed against the darkness like defiant stars. Human lights. Human voices carrying through the air,